Hello, everybody. This is producer Jeremy. We might have a late start.
Hello and welcome. I'm Exit Light, and this is my podcast. Today I have with me Brian from Diabolical Witness.
And welcome.
Hello, Brian.
I'm Exit Light, and this.
Hello.
Brian. Okay. And I have Jory.
Hello, everyone.
And what we're going to do is we're going to be discussing their paranormal investigation of the Casa Grande Domes. So before we get started, I am going to say that we don't have moderator Maya. We have moderator Josh Johnson. So take it easy on him. He fell asleep last week while he was moderating. Maybe this week he can stay awake. Maybe. Also, we had a podcast lined up for Friday that we're going to have to postpone. However, you're going to get the pleasure of having me and Rob, and we're going to what'd you say, Rob? Are we going to talk shite? What we're going to do is we're going to talk about whatever you guys want us to talk about. We're going to take requests from you guys in chat. We're going to talk about the 7 months we've been doing podcasts. We're going to talk about the differences in Halloween between here and the United States. We're just going to talk about whatever you guys want to hear. So please join us for that, because we need people to tell us what you want us to talk about. And then the podcast with him and Jeremy, producer Jeremy, is going to be rescheduled when Jeremy's feeling better. So, is that all I have to say, Jory? Is there anything else?
Well, you mentioned the differences between Halloween here and in the United States. I think you meant the UK in the United States.
Oh my God. Did I say here in the United States?
Yeah, I kind of got did Texas secede? Did I miss that?
Texas, yeah, they seceded. And
okay.
It's a secret thing. Nobody's supposed to notice.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel much better in that logic now.
Okay. Between the United States and the UK. Yes. And then don't forget, next Friday's podcast is me and Jory and Rob, except for Rob is the designated driver. But Jory and I are not. And we're going to discuss the history of Halloween as best as we can.
We're going to let the spirits guide us.
Yes, we are. Rob's going to make sure we get home safely. Okay. So, are you guys ready to get started?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I guess I will kind of do some interviewing, and we'll just see how it goes. So I'll ask you, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
When you made the decision to come down to the domes to do the investigation, did it turn out as well as you were hoped, or not as well as you hoped?
You know, that's a two-part answer. At first, I got to say, the first 6 hours I was there, I was really concerned. I was just getting nothing. And it was just like a switch. And it didn't matter what we were using. We were getting anomalies, evidence, just scary stuff. And I got to say, I was very impressed.
Good. So I saw your first video out, and it was getting dark before Jory got there, or you were maybe in the dome, so it looked like it was dark.
I was at the domes just right before dark. I was actually there all day, and that's right up until about the time that Jory showed up.
And did you see any scorpions?
There were no scorpions.
Okay.
I was looking.
I bet you were. Did you bring your blue light?
I
Black
forgot
light?
it. I actually forgot that, along with a bunch of batteries.
Oh no. By the way, I'm going to tell you guys, if you haven't already, please go over and give this a thumbs up, because that helps the whole deal. Okay, so you had been talking to Jory before you went down and set up a plan where Jory was going to meet you at what, 7:30, something like that?
Just whenever, just darkish, whatever worked out. It wasn't a real tight schedule, and I had a lot of cameras and a lot of film to burn. So I was just there doing a lot of photography, and I was determining where the hot spots were. And
Okay.
I think I narrowed down on those spots before Jory showed up.
And Jory, were you nervous at all?
Yes.
I don't know about nervous, maybe excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, because going out there with your friends and pretending to be a paranormal researcher is one thing, but to go out there and actually see Brian's equipment and work with it and kind of take it more seriously, it was pretty exciting.
So what kind of equipment did you take?
Oh, it was pretty much everything. I brought the SLS, thermal, 3 different IR cameras, just different spirit boxes, all kinds of EVP recorders, just every gadget I could fit into my bag, and I had it at 49.8 pounds.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I could check it.
Nice
It's
job.
a lot of stuff. Tripods. Yeah.
So when you first walked onto the property, it was during the day, so there was you didn't really get a general feeling of creepiness, or did you?
Not until about 6 hours later. The first couple hours was just walking around, making sure the scorpions weren't falling off of the ceilings of the dome. I was really afraid of that. I've seen that in TV before.
Oh no.
So I was making sure there's nothing going to fall on me. And I did some spirit box sessions and just really got nothing. And then in that first video I put out that, I started kind of getting some experiences. After Jory showed up during the day, it was he met a strange man in the desert in the domes for the first time. And I'm sure that
was probably scary.
That was probably really scary. That was me. And I realized something. I gave Jory something when he left, and he was going to come back when it was dark. Some black salt.
Right. Hey, yeah, Jory, you're supposed to give that to me.
I know, it's on the to-do list.
It's very special stuff, and I realized that as soon as that left the property, all hell broke loose, and it's been continuing. So I'm going to be getting some more for myself from
Really?
June. But as soon as I gave Jory that salt and he took off, I went back in the domes and I turned the ghost box on. And I get these things. It's like, I'm Paul. I'm very angry with you. I'm very angry with you. It's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, is Paul really back? This is the guy who used to take over all my ghost box sessions. And sure enough.
Yeah, can you tell the people about Paul, your experience with Paul?
Oh, it's the reason that the whole group disbanded shortly after doing that Ghost Adventures, that breakthrough one in Astoria that I wasn't in. Paul was, everything was Paul on my ghost box sessions. I just took them all down, but I still have all the videos. But it was Paul this. Paul is standing behind you. Who's here? Paul. Be afraid. It's Paul. Just over and over. And it kind of culminated when I did a video and I just sort of called it out. I said, you're done. That's enough. I'm not putting up with it anymore. And coincidentally, I had just ordered that salt from June and I hadn't had him come back. On the ghost box until the domes.
Oh, weird. Well, you sent me that video to watch yesterday, and YouTube, the internet broke yesterday.
I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, that was an accident.
I know. So I never got to watch it.
That was probably Paul.
It probably was Paul. I had 3 videos to put up, and I was like, what is happening? And then I realized that actually the internet broke. So that was one of your most scary experiences, because we talked about that the first time I interviewed you, about you going into the room to confront this.
Oh, terrifying. We had Audio. I mean, it was vocalizations in the room, and it scared me to death. Clicking noises. I mean, and it was the one where Steven just gave me a call and said, "Yeah, I'm done. I need to get away from this stuff," because it was affecting his whole family.
And after the Casa Grande Domes, you got a phone call about Paul, right?
Yes, I did. So my buddy, he saw that Casa Grande, and he said, "What is going on?" Someone who knows. He goes, "Paul's back." And it's not just, you're not just hearing the name Paul and a bunch of static. It's, "This is Paul, and I'm very angry at what you did." Repeated, and of course it's all on film. And yeah, so he called me and said, "What's up?" And I said, "Well, I gave the protection salt away." And
he was like, "Brilliant."
Don't do that. So, yes, so I have some more coming.
So when Jory came with his friends that night, there seemed to be a lot of activity going on.
Oh. Yeah, and Jory can talk to about it from his perspective, but we couldn't stop getting EVPs. We were having just bizarre, we were picking up strange things on thermal, strange things on IR, and I don't know if we have any of the clips to
yeah,
to
they're
show.
running.
Yeah,
I think Jeremy's running them, yeah.
Oh, nice. Just the strangest things. We had, I'm sitting in a chair looking at the big dome. It's in the middle, and I'm holding the thermal still, and I see this white energy shoot straight up and then straight down.
Right.
I have an hour of footage and no anomalies of that sort. And then we catch another anomaly. It looks like a giant python, sliding down the one of the domes. And I asked Jory. I said, "Jory, you have some really big snakes around here." And showed him the footage, and he couldn't explain what that might have been.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
you sent us a clip of a light that went straight towards, I believe it was Jory.
Kenny.
And then it was Kenny. Okay. It went straight towards him, but it looked like it hit a wall and then went like straight down several inches away. It didn't hit anybody. Straight down, and it seemed to change its shape as it went.
It almost looks like a side profile of a drill, doesn't it?
Yes.
How it just kind of, and it shoots out from the side, and all of our anomalies were straight up and down, which is kind of strange. So this thing comes in at an angle, and it turns into a ball, and this is all instantaneous, and just shoots immediately straight down. And we were so lucky to catch it on film, and I actually made a note. I said, "Hey guys, I just caught something on film. I don't know what it was," and I didn't recognize what it was until I did the film review later.
And by the way, I'm supposed to say, when you saw the snake, did you say stop?
I said, "Stop it! Stop it!"
Sorry, guys, just fighting with my snake. Mad Meerkat goes, "That bloody snake."
He was there at the domes.
He was there. He's following us. So Jory, tell me what it was like going to meet a stranger in the middle of nowhere who could have lured you there to kill you. Rob says, "Thanks," in all capital letters. You're welcome.
I made my peace with God, so no matter how I was walking out of the domes, I was comfortable with my skin. No, Friday, that day was a very interesting day for me. So, I normally in a situation where I would be meeting a stranger out there in the middle of nowhere, I would be probably a little bit nervous, but I had a lot going on that day, so the nervousness wasn't there, and Brian was very approachable and didn't give me the heebie-jeebies. So
Your wife was nervous, though. Kendra was nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, is he going to kill you?
Yeah.
It's
Well, I
possible.
told her, I was like, well, it happens. It's all right.
It's worth the risk.
Yeah.
I might get a
Then
picture.
you could haunt the domes.
I was like, I'll just become a part of the legend. It's okay.
We could visit him there at the domes.
Yeah.
Yes, we could.
I could bring my ghost box.
I'll give you EVPs and tell you my name is Paul and I'm deeply disappointed in you.
Angry.
I'm angry at you.
No, Jory will just say, I'm deeply disappointed in you.
Yeah. I'm deeply disappointed in you, Brian. You're not wearing Exit Light merchandise today.
I ordered my shirt and I wanted it for the investigation. I just couldn't get it quick enough.
Yes, he did. So, when you went out there at night, Jory, you took Kenny, and you took Nick with you. And by the way, Nick looks like a completely different person than the last time I saw Nick.
He was scared.
Nick loves this, so I'm glad that he got the chance to go. Nick is an honorary member of my family, and so I was glad that he got to go. And he always wants to go out and go ghost hunting. So, what was your guys' impression when you guys first went out and were walking up there? Did it feel like creepy to you, or was it more still the excitement of going and starting the investigation?
I didn't have any feelings about it in terms of creepiness until oh man, it was probably not until we were actually doing the live call-in with you.
Right.
And Brian was just catching EVPs like it was candy. And then that was when the feelings of being watched. Kenny and I spent the majority of the night feeling like we were being watched.
Really?
Yeah, that we were doing a spirit box section outside of the bigger dome. And I kept turning around and Kenny was like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I can't help. Like, I feel like somebody's standing right over my shoulder." And he was like, "I feel the exact same way."
Really?
And it was almost the whole night. Like right after we got off the phone with you, in my opinion, was when everything really started to pick up. But when we first pulled up, we brought tables and chairs and set some stuff up with Brian. And then he went over the equipment, and that whole time my mind was just on the task, and there was no creepy feeling. I mean, obviously it's creepy because of where we're at night, but as far as like feeling anything, I didn't get anything right away. It took some time.
The spirit box, you guys caught my name on that, Tracy.
We caught more than that too, didn't we?
Yeah, we caught a lot. We caught my name. We caught Nick's name.
Really?
Brian would ask specific commands, and it would answer to his commands.
So when are these videos going to be made available?
I'm probably about 80% through. I need to spend another, I think 8 hours just putting everything together. It's when you have multiple recording devices, matching up the times when you do transitions is really difficult when you're an amateur. Yeah, like myself, I need to get some better software, but should be definitely within a week. Okay.
I think everybody's excited because it was very exciting to have you guys call in during the podcast. Rob and I were, on pins and needles waiting for the time that you guys would call. And so we were I was texting Maya being like, "Oh, is Jory going to call pretty soon? When's this call going to happen?" And then Jory said like 10 more minutes. And so we were excited when you guys were calling in, and then we got to see you, live there doing it. And so I can't wait to see these videos because it's going to be very exciting. Even the clips I've seen so far. And I really liked it that you went to that old cemetery and filmed there.
Oh, I had to stop. I was driving down the highway and I saw that. I just couldn't. It looks just like Virginia City.
Really?
Yeah, it's that old west, and they're all decorated with all kinds of multicolored, flowers and pots. Yeah, it's a very south type of thing.
What is
Southwest.
the name of that cemetery, Jor? Is that one that's supposed to be haunted?
It's called the Witches Cemetery.
Yeah, the Witches Cemetery.
Is that where I was at?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of spooky.
See, you were getting a jump on things and you didn't even know it.
No, something just pulled the car over.
Paul.
He grabbed the wheel.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Paul. But things really took off during the podcast, and didn't we get that EVP that towards the end? It was really ominous. Like to me, it sounded like I kill you, or I kill, or it was crazy.
Yeah, it did.
I thought it said something like "I'll kill you."
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, during the call. So that was really scary.
Yeah, we got that weird one that said either rake or break.
Okay, in your I think in your email, and I sent this to you guys.
Yeah,
I
got it
slowed it
yesterday.
down. I slowed it down and changed the pitch just a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not rake. What did it sound like to you?
Let me go. I'm gonna go to the email and real quick, and I'm gonna. To me, it sounded like. Hold on a second. Let me. I want to say exactly what I sent to you, so I want to read exactly what I sent. Okay. To me, it sounded like, because you gave me some options later. I was supposed to. The instructions were, do not scroll down until you've heard this. And I was like, uh-oh.
I wanted to keep your scientific.
Yes, that was very good. To me, it sounded like I'm afraid of it.
That was the
afraid
rake.
was like, I'm afraid of it.
That was the rake that we heard. But
Yeah.
when we had to slow it down to hear this sentence phrase.
Right. Yeah, and I could see how, because they all said, does that say break? But when you sent it to me, because their options were, I'm afraid of it or him, or I'm a freak to him. I personally felt like it, and I listened to it over and over and over and over again. It was so funny because I had my earbuds in, and for some reason I still felt like I needed to hold my phone up to my ear. I'm like, what are you doing? Anyway, it to me sounded like I'm afraid.
I agree with you. Yeah, that's my opinion also. And I have about 30 more of the exact same type of recordings to go through.
Really?
Yeah, and a lot of times, you really, you hear something, a part of a word, maybe two, but then you kind of have to slow it down, change the pitch to see if there's actually a little more there, and
Right.
without getting crazy. You can imagine. You got to keep your imagination in check, but
Right.
it's really important to have somebody else, once you think you've identified something, play it for someone else. Don't tell them what you think it says, and just see what they say. Try to get some confirmation.
Right. Yeah, so you're not putting your own opinion into their head first.
You can plant a seed and
yeah. Well, that was really creepy. So, Jory, had you ever felt this much activity out there before when you've been out there?
I can say not at that level, only because we didn't have the sophistication of Brian's equipment. But I do kind of feel like visually I didn't see as much as I have in the past. Everything was audio communication this time. I caught a little blip on the FLIR, probably wasn't really anything. And then the only other thing I saw was the FLIR images that Brian was showing me when I was in the big dome, and he was just kind of filming that same dome, and we had the weird anomaly shoot out of the top of it, and the weird, like he said, like snake-like creature kind of crawling down it.
And if you remember that light anomaly that shot straight up and straight down, it was white. That's about the hottest that thing will pick up.
Yeah.
I got that just about 30 seconds before you walked out of the dome and said, "Hey, you've got to listen to the CBP I captured."
Yeah.
And we figured out that you were standing right where that light anomaly was at.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It was like right there.
Yeah, I was standing in the exact spot, and it was when I asked you the question because I just kept getting growling noises in the EVPs when I was asking questions. So I finally just said, and I had the camera facing me, so you can see it wasn't me just making these noises.
Exactly.
And then I finally asked, do you want me to be here? Do you want me to leave? And it was one of the clearest EVPs that we'd heard that night. Just said yes. And that right around that time was when Brian caught the light anomaly. So whatever it was had enough energy to do that. That was pretty amazing.
Right after we connected those dots, I went into the dome with you, and we looked at about where you were standing, and there's this weird gooey red liquid, and I don't know what it was. I don't think it was blood because it was still kind of soft, but it wasn't wax. It had a rock sitting on it. Peeled the rock off of it. No idea, what that was, but it was just all right there.
And as seen in your first video, you found 2 photos of a child, and we saw that also on the podcast when you guys called in. 2 photos of a child in one of the domes, which is, for those of you who do not know, well known for satanic worshiping activity. Well known for that. People who have been involved in those activities have been interviewed plenty of times. If you watched the Ghost Hunters episode on the domes, they brought a man there who had been a satanic priest and had done many rituals in the domes from the time that he had been a child. So seeing the 2 burnt pictures of a child out there, in my opinion, is particularly, I have a hard time saying that word, scary to me. That just feels so dark.
That's wrong on a few levels. I can't imagine why they're there.
I was thinking about it when I saw them later after the podcast, and I can't imagine why anybody would take them out there in the first place, let alone they were burnt. And it's just, I just can't even understand that. Did that feel, when you found those, did that feel, did that give you a sense of what like the rest of your night could go like?
Oh yeah, and I think Jory was getting the heebie-jeebies in the UFO dome as well. I think everybody was feeling it in there. And that's where we found him.
Really?
Just sitting there in the middle of the floor.
That is crazy.
That dome, especially once we were there for the night investigation, I separated from the group with the FLIR just to kind of test it out in other areas. And when I walked up to that dome, there was just this oppressive wall of "do not come in here." This was prior to getting on to the actual live podcast. And I definitely kind of did okay, well, I'll definitely come back here later.
It's weird how each dome has its own personality. We get the heebie-jeebies in the UFO dome. The dome right next to it was cold and just filled with bugs. I can't tell you how many bugs I inhaled.
Oh, no.
But the big dome right next to that was warm and no bugs.
Mm-hmm.
It just,
That's weird. Huh, that's weird. So they all have their own sort of presence about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So can you tell us, like, in your mind, what was the strangest, scariest,
The best evidence.
weirdest? Yeah, that you. Now, I don't want you guys to give away the video.
Oh, no.
So I'm trying to be very careful about not asking, too specific questions.
I don't think we can spoil anything here.
Okay.
But I already know what it is.
Okay, what?
We were all together, and there's a hot spot. It's right in that second dome from the road, and then there's a hot spot right outside that door. And isn't that where you saw your apparition, or was it somewhere?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I was actually. It was right before moderator Maya called me, and I had the FLIR shooting into that dome. And I saw this, Brian's flashlight was shining towards me, so it was creating light on the ground. And I saw this weird, it kind of looked like somebody stuck their hand into the light and then just started like moving their hand really crazy. But everybody was to my left, doing their thing. There was nobody in front of me, and I had the FLIR on in front of me. And my phone was going off, and I looked at Brian. I'm like, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" I'm trying to like get into the live podcast. Something
I'm
just
looking
stuck its
the
hand
other
in the
way.
light.
I went over that film, and I don't think we captured on the thermal. It might have been some sort of a light anomaly, not a temperature. So
Yeah.
if you could take a look too, and if you see it, point it out to me. But I went over it several times. I didn't see it, unfortunately. But that spot was hot.
I was able to go over it last week, and I didn't see anything
Right.
come onto the camera for, during that part. So you're right. It definitely didn't give off a signature of cold or heat, which is another thing that's crazy because I watched it happen in front of me, but the FLIR picked nothing up.
Exactly. So that spot was a hot spot for us. And we set up the ghost box there. We couldn't run it effectively in the dome due to the echo. And some of the best evidence was the back and forth. Okay, it's a toss-up between that one and then Dome 3 when we're outside. We were asking intelligent questions like, how many fingers are we holding up? But the best evidence, in my opinion, and I think we're all probably going to have a different take on this, is when I asked the ghost box, can you say exit light? And we got back a crystal clear response, exit light.
You're kidding me.
No, we got it.
Wow.
So that was within really quick. Yeah. Maybe they're Patreon, I hope.
Can people hear you, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Jeremy said fans in another dimension. Can they sub though? Do I get that view? So when you went out there, you found a tagger out there, right? Now that's my accent.
Oh.
I should say a tagger or something like that, right, Jory?
Yeah, tagger.
Okay. I have an accent. People tease me about it, so I say tagger, but whatever.
Yes,
you
the whole
found
team
one.
of them. They were four.
Really?
They were on a road trip from LA to New York back home.
You're kidding.
No, so I here I am. I just got off the plane, and I went, oh, thanks, some comfort food, and I saw Burger King. I love Whoppers, so I went, okay, I'm gonna have one. So I grabbed one of all the food out there. That's the one thing I had to get. So I grabbed one and I hit the road, and I didn't realize how close they are. So I'm like, oh, so I'm there, and I get the Whopper. I'm walking around the domes, and so I just kind of come strolling in Dome 3, eating a Whopper, and they're spraying, and one guy looks at me and he taps his friend, and his friend taps the other friend, and they all get really quiet, and they're like, oh shit. Is this? I'm sorry. He said, oh my gosh, we are so sorry.
Oh.
I just stood there and I said, well, are you going to watch the podcast tonight? So they dedicated that that artwork to the podcast, and we got that, I think, on the show there.
Yeah,
So
that's so cool. So they probably thought you were. So they obviously thought you were there to bust them.
they thought that I was the police, but instead I turned them into Exit Light subscribers.
Thank you. But you did miss an opportunity to arrest them and put them in your rental car.
I didn't want to have people tied up when Rory showed up.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah,
stand it.
Jory comes up and he's like, hey, we have some people.
Yeah,
in
I've
the
got
car.
4 people tied up, ready for sacrifice tonight. Should be a good show.
I would have just been like, wow, you really take this seriously.
We actually bring our spirits with us.
That's right. So why don't you guys tell us about the 2 separate groups of people that you guys had show up out there while you were there? Which Jory has said that he's never experienced anybody showing up when he's been out there before.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare them. Jory did. Was I a little too rude, I think?
Oh no, I thought it was hilarious. Like the first group that showed up, they all they did was see, because Brian lit some candles in the third dome, just kind of set a mood. And they walked into that dome, saw the candles, and they freaked out. And
There's
ran
Kenny
back to
there,
their
right?
car.
Kenny sitting in the middle of the candles.
Was he?
Well, or he was right by him.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so funny.
It was Kenny or Nick. Yeah, it was right by the candles. So
Oh,
they
no.
they thought we were out there worshiping Satan, probably.
And this was a guy and a girl, right?
Yeah, it was a guy and his girlfriend, teenagers.
So maybe not going out there to ghost hunt.
I would bet. But they got so spooked that they dropped their keys on the property, and I was wondering, like, how come these people aren't leaving?
they got in their car.
They got in their car, and then they were like, oh, so they just kind of sat out there, and I was like, so, we kind of just moved on from them, and I believe we were running the spirit box outside the second dome, and they finally got the cojones to come back on property and get their keys, and the guy was like, you don't understand how badly you scared the, excuse my language, but shit out of me.
What's too bad is that they lost their keys, because they could have gone home and had the best story to tell for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
But then they found out that there was nobody out there actually worshiping Satan.
Well, Brian helped make it think that we still were, because we were running the spirit box, and he said something like, please, what was it? He said, please forgive these people for breaking the circle, or...
Well, they came through an extra time, and I could tell they were just sort of rubbernecking a little bit. And so, and the ghost box is going, and we're all standing around, and there's candles flickering in the background, and I just said, please forgive their insolence for breaking the sacred line.
Yeah.
So they don't know what the hell was happening right there.
Yeah.
They thought we were
That's
going
awesome.
to get them. Yeah.
See, another 2 people you could have put in you would have had to take a van out there for that.
It would have been so cool if we had been wearing like black robes.
Oh, we should have.
Seamlessly floating around the property, worshiping Satan.
Well, it was Friday night. What else would you have to do?
I was going to bring some goat chaps. It wouldn't fit in the luggage.
And then you had another few people show up right before you guys were ready to go, right?
They left so quick. I don't think they stuck around.
Yeah, we were packing up the gear. They walked on property. I think they just walked through the domes. I don't know if it was because we spooked them or what, but we were packed up and ready to go by the time they walked back. And I think I overheard Brian telling them about the Exit Light channel before I left.
I'm gonna have to hire Brian. I'm gonna start paying Brian with love too.
I'm just going to hang out there, and just talk about the show. Chime in, I could like check into every podcast,
There you go. Make sure you have the candles burning though, and
I
Somebody
need my
sitting
shirt.
there.
It
Yes.
would have been. I need the shirt. It'd be great.
Yes, even better. Oh my gosh. So you think that this met your expectations and then some?
Oh, absolutely. And we haven't even talked about the random battery failure. I came
Yeah,
home.
tell us about that.
Well, I have 50 devices and they all have different batteries. And so I have like 3 or 4 different batteries for everything that I have. And here are brand new batteries, fully charged, and I made sure that everything was just in tip-top shape. I get out there and my 4K camera battery dies in 15 minutes. Put another battery in there. It's dead in another 15 minutes. Had a malfunction. The SLS did not capture any video, so I'm going to have to tear this thing down and figure out what, it was clearly functioning, but it wasn't. The recording is nowhere on the device. So you have random technical issues, but I burned through every battery I have, and I'm supposed to have. I should have had 20 hours of recording time.
Wow.
And
Wow. So what makes that happen?
there's a lot of theories, and the real popular theory right now is that when you get spirit activity, they draw energy from what they can around you, and a lot of times that's anything with an electrical field, and so they blame spirits for drawing out the energy of your appliances, whatever you're using, and you sometimes. I usually can't do a ghost box session for more than 20 minutes. I just start losing my focus and just feeling fatigued.
Wow. So I noticed that you had talked to a friend in the comments under one of your videos, and they had mentioned that they were going to come out, and you had said that, and so they did not end up coming. Is that right?
They did not. That's Haunted Explorers. They're based out of Las Vegas, and I run into this guy just from in different places, from state to state to state. Matter of fact, he's going to Stanley Hotel in Colorado, and I'll be going there with him. I bumped into every time I go to Virginia City, I bump into him. But he wanted to bring his crew, and the site just didn't seem big enough. We were going to be contaminating each other's evidence, and
right.
I said, if you want to come down by yourself, that'd be cool. But when you get a team of people, and especially another group, it gets kind of loud and.
Right.
Of course, he understands.
Right. Well, Jory has stayed at the Stanley Hotel on his honeymoon.
Oh my gosh. Just dying to get married.
Hey, my daughter got married last July 13th. It was Friday the 13th. We're like the Munsters, I think.
Oh.
It's starting to feel like that, isn't it, Jory?
Well, our family's always been that way. We've always had a weird, even when we're not trying, we have a weird connection to the paranormal.
I know. So, but you didn't think the group that you had there that night was too big?
No, it was great. They all just seemed like naturals, like they had been doing this. And I did a lot of silly things. I had left one of my cameras on time lapse. Oops.
Uh-huh.
And pretty much got no film from that. It was so I definitely need a technical resource to help me on that stuff.
Well, when we tell people about the paranormal activity in our house in Casa Grande, and I talk about how, I don't know if you've heard the story, but I've told the story of how I saw a shadow figure that I thought was Jory standing in front of my bedroom doors. And I said, Jory, and my doors were like the double doors that open, but we kept one door open. And so I said, Jory, and my husband woke up and said, hey, Jor. and my door slammed shut, and for it to slam shut, you'd have to reach in and pull it shut. And I tell the story that Jory had a friend sleeping on the couch in our loft, which was right outside my bedroom, and he
Nick.
saw and he saw the figure go by. Well, that was Nick.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so Nick has experienced quite a few paranormal things at our house, and that particular one was one of the strangest experiences I've ever had. And so that is Nick. So when I tell a lot of these stories and I say, and Jory's friend was there, that's who I'm talking about.
And these guys were like veterans. Nobody chickened out. I know a lot of people, they just have to leave after a while, you know.
Right.
So, you know, you hear an EVP, you know, I'm going to kill you, you know. It's like, okay, it's time to go. But no, these guys were like, really? How are you going to kill me? So they were definitely very good.
Nice. So you said that you've had problems since. So since you went home, have you had issues with paranormal stuff or Paul?
You know, I haven't done anything paranormal until I get some of that salt back.
Yeah.
I think that might just be my mojo right there. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, you know, June is a kind of a. You saw what she did to Zach Baggins, did you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to tell you, there's this weird stuff here, and I don't understand it, but I'm getting some more of that salt. Okay, that's just, and I'm going to keep it. So sooner you get that stuff, the better. I think you're going to like it.
Yes, Jory.
No, I'm going to keep it. I need to keep
no, you need to send that over here.
There was one thing that I really liked about that, and I want to start all my videos with it from now on. Is that laugh of Jory's?
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Is that awesome or what?
That was so awesome.
It reminds me of the Count. That's why I love it. That's my imaginary friend.
So is there anything you guys want to tell me about your experiences that I haven't asked? Because Jory and I haven't talked that much about it so that we could do this interview. Now, he got on the phone with me as soon as he left. Really excited. He was just, you know, that adrenaline rush.
Oh, yeah.
But we haven't really discussed it very much because I wanted to be able to hear these things, you know, for the first time with everybody else. So if there's things that you guys want to go ahead and tell us that I haven't asked about, that'd be awesome.
Well, you know, one thing from my perspective, and Jory chime in, but we were getting a lot of really intelligent responses. We were, you know, we're just not standing there and listening for a car and going, oh my gosh, I used a car to get here. And then, you know, you hear blue and go, I saw a blue car today. No, we were asking leading questions. We asked it to say exit light twice, and we got it 2 times.
Wow.
We got Tracy, and I've had Tracy one other time come through. We were asking.
Yeah, I watched a video of yours.
That's right. Live stream.
Yes, it was a live stream. Yeah, and it was right at that time that it was like really bad at my house with the paranormal stuff happening, and I said to you, I'm sorry, but I have to go.
Yeah,
because it was just like, oh, yeah.
You were definitely active.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, we were asking numbers, you know, and we were getting numbers, you know, and this is not a science, but you know, we're trying to be objective, and I think we got some good evidence, some pretty objective evidence that we had intelligent contact.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. It was by far the most impressive evidence that I so far know that we caught, just because Brian would just ask these random questions and it would be answered, or we would hear the names of the people in the party even my name came through. I mean, how many
Yeah.
Jories? How many times do you ever hear Jory spoken in a day?
I hear Rory, but
Yeah.
never Jory.
Yeah. So communication, not just from the spirit box, but from the EVPs too, was solid.
That's going to be exciting.
Yeah. I can't wait for the video to go up and show everybody, because I know I came away from the experience really, really excited.
Have you talked to Kenny and Nick about what they thought was maybe the most compelling or the freakiest thing that they saw?
You know, I haven't, and I my brain is so jumbled up from the past couple weeks, but I didn't really get the inspiration or even think about it until we were trying to contact you, of maybe trying to bring them on for a podcast and they can talk about their experiences and how they felt about it.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Well, Nick was very excited.
Oh yeah.
So
I know he was, because up to that point, every time I would talk to him, he'd be like, when are we going ghost hunting? When are we going out to the domes? When are we going ghost hunting? So then when Brian on the podcast was like, I bought the ticket, I'm coming, I called him and I was just like, here's your chance, bud. This ain't no joke.
yeah, you know, that's the funny
Yeah,
thing,
that's
because
awesome.
this all started during a podcast about the Casa Grande Domes.
Yeah.
It was perfect. They're falling apart. This was probably, I consider it probably my last chance to go there and to see this legend. And it was fantastic. Also, there's something that I don't know if I've talked about, but twice I was alone at the domes and I heard these footsteps, and I keep hearing people talk about this, but there's one thing really strange. If you sit in Dome 2, if there is a bird that lands on the gravel outside, you can hear it. It's the strangest. You're really kind of tied into everything around you. But I actually heard some, that, people walking on the broken glass, everywhere. And I actually set everything down and walked around the domes. And then I ran around the dome thinking that there was someone just on the other side maybe messing with me, and I didn't see anybody there. Also on that the video actually you're showing here, I'm doing that right before Jory shows up, and it's getting dark. The ghost box is going, and I hear someone shuffling around in the debris, and it sounded like someone was just at a dead run and they couldn't see, and maybe fumbling around. I put the flashlight out there. I'm going to go through all my footage, all my audio, and see if maybe I captured this on one of the cameras that was closest to it or something. But so far, I haven't been able to find it any reasonable audio, because that ghost box is kind of loud, and it's really the sound is really distorted inside the domes. So I'm not sure if I caught that.
Yeah, I saw that during your video when you said hello, hello. And
Exactly.
you thought you had heard somebody walking behind you.
Yeah. So immediately I thought, oh my gosh, is Paul actually physically manifesting? Because that was right after I got told about, this is Paul, and I'm very angry with you. And it's because of Paul, I'm very angry with you. And that's a really unusual thing to pick up when you're scanning through random radio stations.
Right. Oh gosh, can you imagine a manifestation?
And you're alone.
Yeah.
In a strange place at night.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, thank you.
The fear makes it worse.
Yes, right?
Because then they go, oh, yeah, that scared you, huh? Oh,
yes.
Let's try this. Push it a little farther.
Oh no. When did Paul start coming to you in your spirit boxes and stuff?
I think it's the White Eagle. Yeah.
Okay.
The White Eagle Hotel in Portland. It's a local place that was a real seedy place. They called it the Bucket of Blood, just like in Virginia City. And the White Eagle was, I guess the White Eagle is the national symbol of Poland. and it was in a little Polish town, little subdivision there. And these were working class people, and it was a really rough place. And there's so much history in it, and it's just famous for being haunted. People getting their beds picked up and dropped. You know, they wake up in the middle of the night and just wondering what the heck just happened. But this place, when you go in there, there are EMFs just off the Richter scale. It'll peg your K2 just all the way around all the rooms. Sometimes you get a ball in the middle of the room that the K2 will be pegged in. You pull it out, and you can do a circle of high energy in the room. It's just the strangest thing. But this is where Paul came from, and it was. He just got stronger and stronger as we seemed to get better at communicating with the ghost box.
And have you done some investigation to see who this Paul is?
You know, it's too common of a name. You know, you do a search for Paul, and you just get a bunch of Facebook pages. But no, I haven't been able to find any connection between Paul and the White Eagle.
That's what I was going to say. So there's no recorded deaths or suicides or murders of somebody named Paul at the White Eagle?
Not that I can pick up. And a lot of the old records were burned in a fire in Portland. So not a lot to actually research.
Wow. That is so strange. I wonder if there are other paranormal investigators who he comes to as well.
You know, not Paul, but Nathan and Rachel, half a dozen channels. They get them, and Rachel came from White Eagle also, which was kind of strange. But I haven't had either of them. When Paul came in, they went away. But
Really?
Before that it was all Rachel. Then it was Nathan. Then it went to Paul.
Wow.
And it's strange stuff.
Yeah. So, did you guys get the feeling that whatever was out there and communicating with you was, what's what I'm looking for? Malevolent?
Jory, did you get a sense on that? You kind of had the heebie-jeebies in that first one.
I would say in the overall, I didn't have a feeling of malevolence. I know the UFO Dome had this really weird, oppressive, don't come in here feeling. And I don't think I went. I think the only other time I went in there outside of the live podcast was to do the interview with you.
Yeah. Me too. I stayed out of there.
Yeah.
It just it was just I wasn't getting any evidence. Just felt awful.
I would have to say I actually started feeling more sorry because in the spirit box session, we were starting to kind of hear what sounded like a woman who was in trouble and needed help.
Yeah.
So outside of having just kind of a weird overall vibe of the area and staying away from the UFO Dome, I felt more sympathy, sadness, just that the voice of that female coming through, and she was crying for help. It
Wow.
for the rest of the night is kind of how it just bothered me. Like, why is there a female spirit out here in the middle of nowhere asking for help?
Wow. See, now I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, well, this part of the footage we haven't put together yet, but the earlier Ghost Box session, I had asked, why are you still here? And I got back, we're damned. And because we can't leave. And I kind of thought maybe about doing a cleansing after the fact.
Wow. Yeah.
That might be another one for Jory.
Yeah.
Take some sage down there and try to do a cleansing on that UFO dome.
Yeah, maybe. I talked to Brian about this before in the previous interview series, but I never really feel like I'm ever in danger when it comes to paranormal investigating, and I didn't feel any danger whatsoever because I always feel protected, and I had no second thoughts of anything following me home. I never once, like, even when you played the EVP for me that said I'll kill you, I didn't get scared. You saw me, I was excited. I'm like, oh, let's figure out more. What's going on? I never get that. I mean, you get scared, you get creeped out, but I never once felt in danger.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to not lose the control. But I'm really hoping in February you can take a flight down to Virginia City or Reno and join me at the Washoe.
I would love that.
And the McKay Mansion is now you can actually rent 6-hour time blocks at night and stay at the Silver Queen Hotel. There's so many haunted places down there, but the Washoe is just we'll definitely need your nerves down there.
I would love it. I would love to investigate that place.
Because after I watched The Exorcist, in that ballroom, I didn't feel too good. I want to go home right now.
Well, I've never told this story, but the only time I've ever felt anything physically, I was physically ill and I could barely move, was I actually visited my uncle in his apartment, and I didn't know.
Well, that makes me feel ill too.
Yeah, good old Uncle Mike.
Bringing Uncle Mike back.
Bringing Uncle Mike in here. I didn't know at the time that he was using the Ouija board to try and contact my deceased grandma. And
what?
You didn't know that?
That's the worst time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was right after Nana passed away, and we moved down here, and he moved down here, and he was living in that apartment with that girl and her daughter. Yeah. He was using the Ouija board to try and contact Nana, and he was getting a figure that called himself Mr. Black.
Right.
Oh, he was even on a job site with Jay, and he saw a car pull up, and the license plate on the back of it said Mr. Black.
Wow.
And I didn't know he was messing with the Ouija board at the time, and his apartment actually started becoming extremely violently haunted at the same time.
Yeah, they ended up moving out because of that.
They had to move out, and I got so physically ill that I had to have him help me off the couch. And the moment I crossed the plane into the outside world, everything went away instantly. It was actually the same thing I felt when I walked the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone. My head was pounding, like my brain wanted to jump out of my skull. And then the moment I walked outside, it was gone. It was almost like nothing happened.
I had that head pounding thing when I went to the Oklahoma City bombing. And there is a fence they've had up that at the time was to block off from all the debris.
Yeah.
And now it has people bring. Well, it started off that people would bring some personal possessions of somebody who had been killed in the bombing, and so it has stuffed animals and even key rings of people who have been killed. And I walked past that fence, and my head felt like instantaneously, like I had a migraine, but with like a knife in my head.
Yeah.
And when I got done walking past it, it just went away.
Yeah.
I've never had a physical like that kind of a thing happen, and except for at the Oklahoma City bombing, which was really a strange thing.
That's an attack.
Yeah. That was really strange. And it's really strange because inside, once you get inside where they have the memorial, they have concrete chairs set up to represent everybody who was killed, and then they have tiny concrete chairs for all the children that were killed in the daycare. It's so peaceful in there. It's so somber. It's one of those places where you feel like you shouldn't talk. It looks like a lap pool, but it's just for the calmness, in there. And it's so nice and calm, and you wouldn't think that it would be, but it really is. But then you walk past that gate and boom, it just hit me.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Well, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask these two while they're here? And I can't read the chat very well, so.
Well, you know, there's one thing I'll say about communicating with this ghost out there. I never try to talk to family members. That's just a taboo for me. And trying to talk to you when you're Uncle Mike, boy, that's so creepy. You never know what you're talking to. You know, you want to believe. See, you're too emotionally connected. You'll believe things I don't think you would normally rationally connect with a non-relative.
Right. I didn't know that was happening.
He's always been on the extreme side of the paranormal. He would always just make these makeshift Ouija boards. He would just like take a piece of notepad paper and he would create it. And he would constantly try and talk to the other side.
Hold on a second. Something in my hotel room is
Oh, you got to mute live stream probably.
My computer is closed. My computer is actually closed. But if you could hear it, it's playing.
There's some kind of
You might want to get that salt to her. Probably this week.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, she's not even in the apartment. She's in Dallas.
Yeah. That was so weird. I started going, that's weird. I feel like I hear my own voice. Okay, sorry about that. I have never even had it cross my mind to try and contact a relative. I think I would know. I just feel like that is when something that was malevolent could reach you really easily. You're at a weak point.
Exactly. And a lot of times people, there's a small group, and, you know, of course I don't do this, so I have no idea. But they say that when you talk to your relatives, they'll leave the good place, the light.
Oh.
And sometimes they can't get back.
Oh.
So I wouldn't want to disturb them if I thought they were in a good place. I think there's a line they have to cross.
I'm of the mind that if they want to contact me, then they can. Like when my grandpa passed away a couple of years ago, Kendra and I experienced quite a bit of paranormal activity for like 2 weeks. And then it just as soon as it was here, it was gone. And I thought it was just his way of saying bye to me as he was moving on.
Oh,
really?
That's nice.
Yeah, well, I told you about it, Mom. Like, I would hear these weird... Like, I would hear people talking.
Whispering, yeah.
And it wouldn't go away. Like, I fell asleep to people talking in my house. Woke up 8 hours later to people talking in my house. Somebody walked past me in the shower. Kendra had jewelry moving around on her. And it didn't last very long. Like I said, it would probably last about a couple weeks. And it was gone. And it was right around the time he passed away.
Wow.
That is powerful.
I don't think I've ever had an experience like that either. Well, except for that I did have a very, very, very close friend die that was Jory's babysitter. She practically mothered me because I was very young, single, and had a child. And I have tried to contact a loved one before because my brother, Uncle Mike, bringing Mike back up, my mom had property, so we went camping on it, and we used the Ouija board and contacted who we thought was her. Well, the next day, I had on my right shoulder a right handprint, so it was impossible for me to have somehow done this to myself. A burnt hand mark, burnt with blisters and everything, burnt on my back, and it was in the perfect shape of a hand. And I think after that I was like, well, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, you definitely have. You've got the connection for that to happen. That's definite. That's powerful.
That was very frightening.
I've never had anything like that happen. So in a way, you're lucky. Is that the right word?
Unique. Yeah. I don't know if lucky is the word exactly,
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure.
yeah, I've had some very strange and harmful things happen to me. So after the last thing that I went through, I had to completely change my mindset about it. Even when I joked to you earlier and you said my car just turned off, and I said, oh, it could have been Paul. Even then I stopped and thought, never do that again.
Oh no.
Yeah, like don't open that door and joke about that. You know what I mean? I was like, oh shit, I wish I could like take that back.
Yep. Absolutely. But we're going to take care of Paul.
Okay. Yeah, take care of Paul.
I'm going to get my little package from June, so it'll all be good soon.
That's so scary. So when you were going to the Washoe Club, you had people that were going with you. Are those the people that stopped doing this?
No, that's the group before. They're scaredy cats. Okay, so it was like Shaggy and Scooby Doo. I mean that very affectionately, but I mean they couldn't be alone in the building, and I mean I didn't like it either. But it's 3 stories, and it's like 15,000 square feet, and when you're up there, there are places where you could scream and nobody would ever hear you.
Wow.
Okay, and there are the Demon Room and Scott's Room, and they have some period, decorations, and there's like a full-blown like Indian chief in full garb there, mannequin, and these guys, they just they would only go together. So it's like, okay, guys, I need someone upstairs. I need someone on the 2nd floor. I can be down here, in the command center watching. We had a surveillance camera. We had wires run all up and down the hallways for power. And these guys, I mean, the cameras were shaking. They were just having a tough time. And then, I figured I would kind of desensitize them and would watch The Exorcist together, in the ballroom. And that didn't really help. It made things a little worse. Mm-hmm. And so they left, and I figured, well, I'm not going to waste this opportunity. And so I stayed for about...
They left you there by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, they would go outside and smoke too. And because they were nervous, they were smoking more. Mm-hmm. And so I was, alone quite a bit. But I lasted maybe 2 hours, and I just had to leave. It just got a little bit too much.
So what was it? Okay, so because Mad Meerkat asked you about feeling such a terrifying feeling. Was it a feeling that you had?
It is totally a feeling, and everything makes noise. The floor, the doors, if you were to just sit in a room, you're going to hear the door squeak. You may not even see it move. You're going to hear the wall pop. I mean, it's just heavy.
Right.
Oppressive. And this is a place where there was just a lot of bad stuff, that happened. Mark Twain and a couple of U.S. presidents and General Sherman and just a lot of real famous people, would go there, and they would kill people over card games. And there was a back door where people would come in, and Yeah, it's a really sordid history.
Well, have you ever heard of the Skirvin Hotel in Oklahoma City?
I have not.
Okay.
Urban.
So the Skirvin Hotel in Oklahoma City is famously haunted. And it's beautiful. It is beautiful. So on my birthday last year, we went to the Skirvin for a murder mystery dinner. And then, because I'm not stupid, we left, and then the dinner afterwards, and then we walked around the whole hotel taking pictures and video.
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah, I saw your picture, I thought.
Yeah. I did like a whole video about it. And when you walk into the Skirvin Hotel, first off, it's very, very dark, beautiful wood, all hand carved. They have these weird goat demon faces carved on the top of them.
Oh,
which, yeah, is especially. I don't enjoy the goat demon paranormal things, and they are carved into this at the top of their beams. They're wood beams, and it's very dark. Like I don't know how to explain it, as in lighting wise. They just keep it very dark. But then when you walk in, you are hit with the fact that this place something's wrong. And my husband, who I have always talked about, is skeptical, although he's had his moments where he was like, oh yeah, that's true. So it was really weird because we walked in and I was very excited because I was excited to go to this murder mystery dinner. And we walked in and I was instantaneously hit with like, oh, this is a lot. And we went, we had some time. We were there early. So we walked around this particular floor, and the very first time you ever see The Shining and you get that feeling of the emptiness and how frightening that would be, oddly enough, that's exactly how this hotel felt, completely full of people downstairs, but upstairs it wasn't. And it was really ominous feeling. I don't know how to explain it. Huh?
Yeah, the history of this place is insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Woman grabbed her baby and ran out the window and fell to her death. And
yeah, she had gotten pregnant by the Skirvin, Mr. Skirvin. He held her in the room on the 10th floor, held her captive in there until she had the baby, and she reached a breaking point, just took the baby and jumped through the glass window and committed suicide and took the baby with her.
And there's guests complaining about not getting a good night's sleep because of a child crying when there's no one there.
Well, okay, so I believe it was the Lakers who stayed at this hotel. It was, what's his name? Jory, what's his name? The guy who changed his name to Meta World Peace. Meta World Peace claims that he was physically and sexually assaulted.
I see that.
Yeah. Now, to come out in public as this big basketball guy, and say, I got a little something extra.
What was it? Exactly.
Nobody said that was included in the price of the room. It was a strange thing. In fact, the teams won't stay there anymore. And it's a funny story because my husband was the project manager on a building being built in downtown Oklahoma City. And behind it was a hotel that the basketball teams stay at now. And so they were doing construction, and they actually the hotel called my husband and said, can you stop construction for like 3 hours because they need to get sleep because they have a game tonight. And my husband was like, well, let's weigh this out right now. You're the traveling team. You're in Oklahoma City. Should we stop construction so you can get sleep? But it's because they won't stay down at the Skirvin anymore because of the haunted reporting.
Yeah, the New York Knicks. Yeah, they won't even stay there.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And it feels awful. And so the next day I said to my husband, "Hey, what did you think of the hotel? Did you what did you think of the ambiance?" And he was like, "It was terrifying. There's something wrong there. I'll never go back there again." And I thought, okay, so we're on the same page about that. Although I would go back there again. He won't, but I would. Call me crazy, but it was really very interesting. Jory, you're going to come. We should have done that, Jory, when you came to visit me.
That was fun.
Put Jory in that hotel?
Yeah.
The ghosts be packing their bags.
Well, that might make the hotel happy.
Oh, we could get our basketball teams back.
Exactly.
The ghosts are probably
crazy nut in here. Do a weekly podcast. Keep the ghost away.
The ghost would be like, "That's too much. That's just too much.
Stop it.
Stop it."
My wife always teases me that if I ever entered a haunted place, that it would need an exorcism to get me out of it.
Oh, nice. Oh my gosh.
There's a naked lady that shows up in the shower.
Yes.
That is so freaky. This place is for real.
You were like, "There's a naked lady that shows up in the shower. I just booked my ticket."
Oh, well, I didn't say what she looked like. Could be Sasquatch.
Oh.
Sign me up.
Yeah. I'm from, Oregon, so it's all the same. No, that's really creepy. I won't be staying there.
It's very interesting. I probably wouldn't want to stay the night there, but walking around it and getting the general feeling of it was
Has Ghost Adventures done this? Because Zach Baggins has been trying to hook this up for a long time. I'm thinking about, you know what? I may go to his haunted museum and send him a little tip about this place.
That would be awesome. I think it would be really awesome. They would find stuff there. No, hands down. You can't walk in this building. Well, and I don't think my husband has that, like, in general, has that ability to just like feel that, like, it wouldn't be unusual for me to walk in place and go, "Ugh, this is wrong." Sure. But when he walked in and thought, "No, I'll never go back there," I was like, "Oh, that was pretty strong." So that would be cool if they would go down there and investigate that.
Yes, it would. Oh, I'm going to have to look at this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. You don't have to stay there.
No. Let me leave that too.
Yeah.
I'm staying next door, actually, in my sleep time.
Like, can I just take a shower, though? Is that okay?
That's a little freaky. That Maxwell had a song like that. I'm afraid to wash my hair.
Yes.
Open my eyes and see some lady. Yeah, that's scary.
Standing there. Yeah. All right. Any other questions, you guys? Let's see. We should open our own hotel. Well, oh gosh. We'd bring the haunted with us.
Like some guy from it looks like the guy from Diabolical Witness is in my shower.
Except you actually are.
It's like, no, we get that a lot. No one like that, is around here.
Yeah, well, co-host Jory is also behind him with a camera. What's that about?
Someone that looked like Jory was snuggling with me last night.
He was wearing a onesie pajama. What was up with that?
I wasn't hating it, but still, it was weird.
It was just weird. Just talk to me.
I will
Give them a
look
little
into.
diary that they sign into.
I will look into a hotel.
All right, you guys. Well, I know that everybody is excited about seeing your videos. And now I get one from my channel too. Is that correct?
Yes,
I'm so
the
excited.
same one. Yes, it's going to be so awesome.
Okay, I'm so excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. And I know everybody's looking forward to it. And thank you so much for doing that and taking my child. And I know he loved it.
You know, thanks to Jory, it wouldn't happen without him. Because if I didn't have a contact, someone taking the time to tell me about to actually show me around and tell me about the stories, it would have never happened.
Well, I thank you both, because that was a lot of fun and there was a lot of excitement. And especially during the 31 days of Halloween, it was really cool to get that call in and be able to experience a little bit of that with you. So I also appreciate you guys taking the time to let me pick your brains about that night.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right, and I'm sure that this will not be the last time that we have Diabolical Witness on as a guest, obviously. If he would allow us to.
Okay. As long as I don't have to stay at that hotel.
You won't. You don't.
Thank you.
You don't. You don't have to hold a press conference and tell everybody that something really, really off happened to you.
I'm a little bashful. I wouldn't say anything about it, probably. Like, I don't want to stay here anymore.
You run down to the front desk in a towel. Can I check out now? I just want to leave my stuff in there. I gotta go. All right, you guys. Well, thank you very much. You guys catch up with me Friday. We're gonna have a podcast. It'll be same time as tonight, and we're just gonna chat about Halloween stuff and podcast stuff and creepy story stuff, and it'll be nice and relaxed and fun. And you guys can suggest topics that we can talk about, because you give me a topic and I'll talk about it.
Thank you.
Also, if you would like to support me through Patreon, that would be much appreciated. Or I have my Teespring store up right now, and I have quite a bit of stuff on there. So if you guys want to go look at that, and I have exciting news about that. Here's something strange that happened. Teespring put an ad on YouTube yesterday that YouTube allowed to be put on. It wasn't on my video because I'm not advertiser friendly. But ironically enough, in the Teespring ad were my t-shirts. 2 of my t-shirts were the 2 of the 6 shirts that the Teespring was advertising. 2 of them were mine. I thought, well, that's interesting. They'll take the ad money, but they won't put it on my channel. So if you guys want to head over there, Teespring thinks they're 2 of the best new shirts made. Oh, thank you. So I hope you guys are enjoying the 31 days of Halloween. I'm having a blast doing it. It's been a lot of fun. And I guess we'll say good night. Thank you guys.
Good night, everyone.